obsessed with the Connie Fife Show. It's about a lifestyle shift to move up or out.
Hey, what's your jam? What's the one thing that really drives you? What makes you unstoppable?
It's about opening a new door to live your dream.
People give up way too early on their dreams.
It's about enjoying the journey. It's about keeping it real.
Damn, now the interviewee is interviewing the interviewer. I like this.
It's all about you.
I knew there was something else I wanted to do. Stop taking shit so seriously. Y'all can do this. Take an outrageous look at life and laugh.
This is the Connie Fife Show.
We love your voice. We love your jam. You need to be on radio.
And now your host, Connie Fife.
Hi, everyone, and hope you're having a great week. And we're back with another episode of the Connie Fife Show. And each and every week, we are always bringing you some amazing, some outstanding guests that are excelling in the work that they're doing. And today's guest, well, let's just say he is definitely achieving and really making things happen. So he's in an industry where tech companies really barely survived 5 years. And we all know the story. People start up and they quickly fold. But his company, they are an exception. The company is IGEL, and he's going to be sharing more about that in just a minute. But the company itself started as a German hardware company. And over the last 20 years, it's evolved to become a leading innovator of software for Cloud Workspaces with an astounding success story, really that no one could have predicted. So when I was looking at some of their backstory, I was really thought it interesting that the founder, and I don't know if I'm going to say his name right, Heiko Gloge. Okay, and will you correct that? And he would drive himself and his company forward continually, and now into a very unique tale of ingenuity and persistence. And that is what has captured, which was a film that was just released, I believe, the story of IGEL Technology. So today, IGEL is led by CEO, and he is breaking all the rules for the next-gen Edge OS for Cloud Workspaces. So welcome to the Connie Fife Show, the CEO of IGEL, Jed Ayres.
Well, thank you so much for that kind introduction, Connie. Great to be here.
Tell me again, how do I say his name? Heiko?
It's Heiko Gloge.
Okay. So I should know it, having a son living in Germany, but I still don't know all of those pronunciations.
Oh, trust me, I just came off a call with our German colleagues. It never ceases to amaze me, the length of the words. One word I counted was 24 letters, right? They just put words together sometimes. So, yeah.
Right. And then try to pronounce them. So you're the CEO of the company, and your group has been breaking all barriers and moving forward with these cloud workspaces. So, how are you managing this type of company? And let's talk about how are you managing this type of company in the economy of where it is today?
Yeah, well, it's been an interesting journey for me, for sure, Connie. I started 4.5 years ago. And they really had no U.S. presence. So my first role was really to bring IGEL into the United States. Okay. And so that was my first role. And it was also a role to take over marketing. So I took over all the messaging. And really, most software companies or tech companies have to put their language into English as the sort of common language for tech companies. So it was a really exciting opportunity for me, right? Because I was taking this extraordinarily great IP, which had been shrouded in sort of the German, language for probably, at that point, 15 years. Mm-hmm. And sort of like, okay, how do you put this into English first and kind of more of a business outcome driven model, and really revealing some of the software IP, because it was locked in this I'm sure many of your listeners probably have never heard of a dumb terminal or a thin client, but they're sort of these purpose-built like appliances almost that are used to receive and emulate from a mainframe originally. And so they're not it's not a very sexy thing, a thin client, dumb terminal, anything with dumb in it, of course.
Right. No.
So it was this great opportunity to sort of lift the actual IP, which was an operating system that was sitting on that hardware, a Linux operating system, in fact, that sort of was purpose built to sit under these virtualized cloud workspaces, which is, right now in the world of COVID, that's how people want to receive their application, their data, or their entire desktop. They want to get it from the cloud, and they want to be able to move across any location and get that securely. So that's really been the journey that we've been on. We've doubled the size of the company in the last 4 years, and the U.S., whether it's retail, healthcare, banking, finance, insurance, they've all embraced this as the sort of new way. And COVID has obviously ushered in a even bigger, kind of tailwind for this solution. So it's been interesting. I took over as the CEO back in February. So February 6th, I took the helm from our founder, Heiko, who actually has been working on this for almost 30 years. And that was February 6th in Munich in front of all of our employees. And then the next day we had this huge trade show where we hosted almost 1,000 people in Munich. And so it was a big moment. And it was like, of course, 2/3 of our employees are in Europe. So it was like, all right, I'll be right back. I'm going back home to be home for a couple of weeks, but I'll be right back. And so March 12th, I'll never forget, it was the Thursday. And that was basically, I've been locked in this room just across the Golden Gate Bridge in Marin County for the last 7 months. I haven't left.
My husband was actually in Germany when that happened, and he said, okay, I gotta go, I gotta come home. And as soon as he came back is when they shut down the borders, that day. So it really, really interesting. So, I mean, pre-COVID and then now COVID hits, but I mean, you guys are really talking about, and you said you've been in this room for all, sometimes.
White cell, I call it.
Thank goodness, we get claustrophobic here. I have a big space here, so I have multiple rooms that I could use for studio. So it's like, okay, today I'm going to go over that room just so I can get a change of pace of what we're doing, what we're looking at. So how are you? Let's jump into that for a little minute. So how are you managing the productivity as a CEO, in a remote setting? And I'm sure this remote setting is going to happen with your company pre-COVID, or even hopefully, long after COVID happens. But how has it changed the dynamics of how you're working with your team remotely?
Absolutely. I mean, it's definitely a challenge, right? Just the day-to-day interactions that used to have a lot of virtual. We have a global management team. I have 2 people here in the U.S., 2 in the UK, 4 in Germany, and we were always on virtual calls on a weekly basis. But to have it in this sort of sustained period, we always broke it up with seeing each other face to face quite a lot. Right? Every quarter we would get together for a couple days. So this is a new reality to go so long without the sort of energy that's created from humans being in a room together. It's only so much you can do through one of these Zoom,
Right. It definitely is so much you can do. How do you see, let me see, or just ask, are you projecting where the future is going to take the business through a digital, this digital?
Yeah, I mean, I think, long term, it's very healthy for what we do. We basically are, on the cusp of something that's an architectural change. If you think about Windows as an operating system, it's been around for 35 years.
Right.
15 versions of Windows, which I'm sure many of your listeners have watched. How Microsoft empowered a whole generation of companies, right? And they all have thousands and thousands of Windows applications that have fueled this. And of course, what that meant was you had a device, which the computing power has, radically improved over those 3 decades. So you have these extraordinarily powerful processors, and you have an ever bigger operating system that has to sit on that device. And that's really the challenge we're solving for, because that operating system, Windows 10, right, is the version that we're on now, which you didn't know and your listeners didn't know. Windows 10 is the last version of Windows that will ever be released by Microsoft. And so,
really, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, the thesis really is that that really the whole like universe of Windows and Windows applications, sort of brought into the cloud, into Azure, Microsoft's cloud.
Right.
Most people today in most companies are consuming their email and their Word and their Excel and their PowerPoint out of Office 365, which is the first sort of step towards, completely abstracting these applications and how you use them to the cloud.
Right. So I know that's something that you're working on, because when I was looking at your material, that I seen a comment in there of making Windows 10 easier to work with. So is that part of that process?
Exactly. So the real concept is that, the future looks very different than it does today, right? Where we're on this sort of, the corporations and businesses are on sort of a 2 to 3 year cycle where they have to buy new hardware, they have to patch, maintain, and update an operating system, which has gotten really big.
Right.
So the idea is in the future that a lot of that complexity and cost actually gets abstracted into the cloud, and you get to consume it, and you can put it on a phone, a tablet, and any PC that you want, and you don't have to have this huge expensive device with a big operating system on it. And actually all the compute and the security, all that complexity gets moved to the cloud, and Microsoft manages it. And so, what's interesting for us and for your listeners to kind of understand is that Linux, it may not be a roll off the tongue operating system, because
but I've heard of that. Yes.
Yeah. You know about Mac operating systems,
right?
Or Windows or iPhone, iOS, or Android. These are the, what most people know, but Linux is actually the world's most pervasive operating system. All of the web runs on Linux. All of the 500 supercomputers in the world run on Linux. Actually, 4 out of 5 phones are based on Linux. Most of the sort of ATMs, or anytime you're in a Tesla or a car, it's all running on Linux. And so the one place where Linux hasn't succeeded is actually on the desktop. And we think this is the moment where you're going to see Linux win on the desktop, because it becomes, when you're delivering everything from the cloud, having a light, secure, easy to manage operating system actually makes a lot of sense. And
so with the work with what you're doing, do you see, again, what's happening now with more and more people working at home, do you see that continuing long into the future, especially with these type of operating systems?
I think that there is going to be some big advantages to the planet and to people's, the framework of their lives, and their families that are going to, and sort of the health benefits that come with a certain amount of flexibility. So I do think there's a big revealing moment for a lot of companies and a lot of leaders that work can be accomplished remotely.
Because that's a big challenge right now with them. Like, how do I manage my people remotely? How do I, get the performance that we need when they're remotely?
And I think that it's not the one-all answer for everyone, right? In every position, I think you're going to still need to go to the office, but maybe you don't need to go to the office as much as you did before, right? And it's much more intentional. I don't think the office is going away entirely, especially as a guy who spent 7 months inside this room, right? I'm dying to go into the office. So I think once COVID sort of becomes, more or less in control, that we're all going to have a big appetite to be around human beings and the collaboration that can happen when you're together. And, when you break bread, I think one of the things that's missing in my life is the magic that happens when you have a meal with someone, right?
Yes.
And we've lost some of that, in this era where we've been sort of having to stay at home. Well, I had lots of meals with my own family. But,
right. Well, 2 things to that. I was speaking to a Fortune 500 executive recently, and he actually, how he put it, that they miss happy hour. He said, because you just get so much more done. You people, they work together, they network together. And, so he said that they miss happy hour. But
and it's not just your own employees, right? It's your partners, your customers. Right. So much happens when you soften people by breaking bread with them.
Yes.
Right? And it's beyond just people talk about the water cooler inside of their company and how much happens sort of in that non-formal communication. And
right.
It exists obviously in terms of how people partner together, how they do business together outside the four walls of your office even, right?
Right,
and that's been hard to do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the meetings industry, and of course that just has crumbled. And right now, it's not happening. But although it's not happening, we've had the best quarter of it because companies are very strategic on who they are hiring and who they are bringing in for their programs. And of course, everything is virtual. Right. But they're very strategic, so they're willing to pay more money for that. So in terms of the dollars, it's been a great quarter. But in terms of the people and who's getting booked and speaking, that isn't even close to where we were at. And then again, having all of these virtual programs and virtual events, people aren't breaking bread. They're not doing the business that they normally would be doing if they were there face to face. So, and again, as humans, we want that interaction. We want other people. Right. And, we're being patient, most of us, and saying, we know the end is near. We know this is going to be okay. But,
I think that is the beautiful thing that happened, right? It's like a science experiment that you would have never gotten under normal circumstances, right? The fact that, business resiliency and sort of continuity has a new definition now, right?
Yes.
When we used to talk about business continuity, it was like, hey, if there's a fire and your office burns down or you lose a data center, how are you going to recover?
Right.
Business continuity in the new post-COVID era is going to be about how do you ensure that all your employees can work wherever they are on any device, and how can they do that securely? Even the White House today is dealing with this, right? Where because of the COVID situation, they had to send everybody back into their home office to quarantine, right? And so then given the lengths that the U.S. government takes to secure phone lines and emails, can they keep the government running with the entire West Wing, in their houses, right? And so like that same spectacle that we're all watching in the White House, that's repeated with every corporation, right? So and I think that's where we come in, right? We're like, how we work with a big hospital that had a crisis, right? They sent all their people home with these fancy, beautiful laptops. Day one, they got hit with ransomware. And, that's a big problem, right? Because it was 3,000 people that were doing invoicing for this hospital. Suddenly they're at home and they're in a totally different set of variables that immediately got compromised, right? Hospitals are big victims of ransomware. So, that's where having a super hardened operating system so that it's really hard for the bad guys to get to your data, hack your applications. That's where Linux is a winning formula.
Comes in for that. These bad guys, though, I said, if they put that energy into something good, imagine what they can create. I always say that. I always say that. Like, put your efforts into something else. The Connie Fife Show is heard everywhere. You can find The Connie Fife Show on most of your favorite networks. It's time to now recognize and thank our major networks for all of their support. In the house, we have Conscious Business Radio, C-Suite Radio, Transformation Radio, iHeartRadio. We are also heard on Google Play, Apple, Radio, Stitcher, and so many more that I just can't keep up with them all. I'm Connie Fife, your unstoppable diva. Learn more about our gym and how we can work together at my fancy schwanky website, ConnieFifeShow.com. I'll see you over there. Until then, like, share. Now back to the show. Well, I have a couple questions, Jed, that I always ask our guest. The first is, if you could finish the sentence for me by answering, I am unstoppable because.
Well, I have a word I use, and it's become part of my mantra, is believe, right? It's this concept that you either believe you can or believe you can't. And in IGEL, this is taken on a new meaning. I stood on that stage on February 6th and said, hey, we're this small German company, but you got to believe that we can have a huge impact on the future of computing. And we gave everybody a T-shirt that said believe. And what's been interesting is that word through COVID has taken on a bigger, newer,
new meaning.
In terms of just optimism and hope and fighting through. And so we've been sending these shirts. And in fact, if any of your listeners want one, they can go to igel.com/believe, and we'll send them a shirt that's emblazoned with this positive message.
I love that.
So that's probably what I would say to anybody is like, you have to have a dream, and you have to realize if you can't have the dream, you're never going to realize it.
Well, talk about the film, because IGEL released a film called Believe.
Yes.
Okay. Talk about that for a couple minutes.
Yeah. So one of the things that we wanted to give as a gift to our founder, who had been working so hard on this company for so long, was just something that memorialized the journey that he went on to where we are today. And that word, again, memorialized sort of, he started in an attic, like a lot of tech companies, very austere kind of circumstances. And he's built a $200 million company, which has, is finding its way onto this, grand stage, standing next to Microsoft and Amazon and a lot of these big players. And so, who would have thought a guy who was originally a German social worker, could build something like that. And he did it because he just never gave up on his dream, right?
He believed.
Yeah. And it's about hiring the right people, right? Like we have this whole philosophy of you hire great people, you empower them, and amazing things can happen, right? We always also very German, but we also have a thesis around having a plan, and and always sort of being willing to have flexibility with that plan, but writing down what is it that we agree to, and then trying to actually exceed those expectations of that plan. Make the impossible possible is what we often talk about inside of our company.
Love that. So what about you? What about yourself? What do you want the world to hear from you?
Well, I think from the other word that I taught, other words and ethos I delivered from that stage on the 6th was I said believe, but I also said, hey, you have to have a servant heart, right? Which means something big today also, right? People talk about servant leadership, but I talked about serving, if you can't serve your own family, which in that context of an organization is the people around you, right? And putting them in front of others and being kind to them and sort of looking for the ways that you can help your teammates, and then by extension, your partners. And then ultimately, if you're doing that well, you help your customers. So servant heart has a special meaning inside of IGEL. And that would be what I would want to be remembered for, right? Is a leader who really leaned into this idea that if you're driving that every day, you get great results. And you have people that wake up and they're like, how can I help? How can I help my fellow employee?
Right. How can I help? There's
it's a selfless help, right? It's not always very clear how that help is going to maybe manifest in your paycheck or your career, but you're like there to sort of like try to lift people up. Right. And when you put 450 people in that sort of mode, it's pretty exhilarating.
You get a lot done. Yeah. Doing it without waiting for that. What's in it for me? Right. What's coming back to me? Doing it because you're helping somebody else. I love that philosophy. We have a lot of that same philosophy here. So will you ever be satisfied?
I think that the answer to that is no, right? I mean, I wake up, if you ever feel like you're satisfied 100%, it's check yourself.
Right. So I need to move on. Let's go. Move on.
I mean, I always, have grumbled when I've had employees that have just said, we've grown this as much as we can. There's nothing more we can do. And it's like, no, that's never the case, right? Like there's always a room for improvement and where's the next frontier, right?
Right. Always room for improvement. So what is your workspace cool place contest?
So one of the fun things that IGEL has done is over the last few years, we've given some things away to get people's attention. And
Okay.
I've never heard of IGEL. Let me have 15 minutes of your time to talk to you. And we gave away a couple of Teslas, and that worked really well because it was sort of this parallel to IGEL as this software-defined operating system that was disrupting a space. So this year, and it was actually before COVID came along, we decided, hey, one of the things we deliver at IGEL is a really great secure workspace.
Right.
And so let's give away, and a lot of people are working remotely, let's give away a home makeover, kind of our own reality TV. So if you go to igel.com, you'll see, we're giving away a $20,000 home office makeover, which is a special interior designer, Vicky Norris, that's come in and is helping kind of 3 different people have applied, and we're going to redo their home workspace.
So I was going to say, could I still apply?
You can still apply. We're still giving away $5,000 packages. The $20,000 one, we've already got.
That's gone. Okay.
There was a process of elimination to get to these 3 workspaces. It's pretty fun. There's one in Texas. There's one in the Netherlands somewhere, and one in New York, I think. And they all 3 have sort of different challenges. And so, there's a fun video out there. But if you go to igel.com, you can actually vote for one of the winners on the 20,000 today. And it's been a fun contest for sure.
Yeah, I bet that one was really a fun contest. So where can our listeners find out more about IGEL? I know you've mentioned igel.com, but also a little bit more about the work that you're doing with the company itself.
Yeah, I think obviously I love to connect with people. So if you're listening and you want to follow me, LinkedIn is my favorite social platform. Pretty much the only one I use, and a little bit of Twitter. But I would say, connect with Jed Ayres on LinkedIn. Tell me you've listened in, and I love to share ideas on that platform. And of course, igel.com. If you're in this space and you're looking for a hardened operating system to sit under Citrix or VMware, Microsoft, Amazon, you can actually download it there for free and try it out at igel.com. And if you want one of our t-shirts, I'd love to send you one, igel.com/believe.
Okay, so if you get that, igel.com/believe to get your t-shirt, your Believe t-shirt, and learn more about the contest, and you could still apply for the $5,000 level. So again, over at igel.com. And again, Jed Ayres, Ayres, you can find him.
Ayres, actually.
Ayres. Oh, okay. Ayres, and you can find him out on LinkedIn. So let me make sure I correct that. So so Jed Ayres out on LinkedIn. You can find him there. And again, connect with them. Let them know that you heard him on the Connie Fife Show, and follow all of the work that they're doing there, which sounds fantastic. And Jed, I want to thank you for being here.
It was a real pleasure. Thank you.
This has been so informational and so helpful on so many levels. So again, I want to thank you for being here, and you're always welcome back to the show.
Oh, that was sweet of you. Thank you.
Well, guys, that's all I have for today. Thank you all for being here and continuing to follow and share the Connie Fife Show. So go out this week and be really kind to yourselves, and also be kind to your neighbors. Take care. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Hey, y'all, it's Connie Fife. Thank you for listening to the Connie Fife Show. Check back often. You don't want to miss any of the good stuff. If you like what you hear and would like to be a guest on the show, head over to theconniefifeshow.com to apply. While you're there, check out our amazing advertising opportunities that will put you right in front of your perfect client. I will see you over there. Do yourself a favor this week. Activate your power and be unstoppable together.